New data from Gallup shows President Biden's approval rating has dropped to his lowest rating yet, at 50%.
Biden saw a 6 percentage point drop from his June numbers, the sharpest decline in his approval ratings since his term began. Gallup recorded Biden's job numbers in the mid to high 50s since January.
Despite the drop, the poll found Biden's second quarter average is still better than former President Donald Trump or even President Bill Clinton, which, is very interesting. Biden does a good job of, I think, staying out of the spotlight in a way that makes it hard for people to get really, really excited about him, but also hard to be really alarmed or negative about him. Obviously, virtually all Republicans despise him, virtually all Democrats like him, and that's just the polarized world we live in. What do you make of these numbers, Kim?
Well, it clearly comes down mostly to independents, right? It's the independents that are deciding whether or not his ratings go up or down. And right now, everybody's just sort of miserable. This has been a miserable year and a half. And I think anyone sitting in Biden's spot right now is going to suffer. I just think when people suffer, the ratings suffer. And it's reflective of that.
Yeah, well, I think I almost take the opposite view, though. Things are getting better. Things were so much worse last year, and they're getting better. And I'm not sure it's so much necessarily because of things Biden is doing or is uniquely doing, is doing differently than any other Democrat or any other probably normal Republican would have been doing. But we happen to have the vaccines now. The pandemic is in a much better place, and President Biden is benefiting from that good news. So it was a little and his handling of the pandemic seems to be high, but it was a little odd to me that overall he's somewhat down. Maybe people are starting to get concerned about Delta, and it reflects that. We have our own exclusive presidential approval numbers from the Hill and Harris. Let's take a look at those.
If you are vaccinated, you are safe. If you are vaccinated, you have over a 98% chance of never catching the virus at all. If you catch it, you're likely to, the overwhelming proof so far is you're not going to be hospitalized, you're not going to be sick, you're going to probably have no signs that you had it, and you are not going to die.
Biden's job approval remains fairly steady in the Hill-HarrisX poll, coming in at 58%, consistent with previous months where he's hovered in the high 50s. Now, the methodology on this poll is different from Gallup, but there are some key nuances to consider. Biden's highest approval rating remains on his handling of COVID at 67%, while his lowest support is on immigration. And it's really that immigration number that's hurting him. What do you think about this, Kim?
I think it's immigration and also probably inflation. I think the inflation is also probably really hurting Joe Biden, and the fact that so many business owners are having a hard time finding employees. And Biden has said, well, okay, maybe it is that we've made it to where, we're giving them money or incentives or whatever. And so that might be turning some people off quite a bit. But I do think, overall, people are fairly happy with his coronavirus, the pandemic response. But yeah, I think, again, I do think that people right now are still suffering, and that is going to cause anyone's poll numbers to be down at this state.
It is a problem. Some businesses are having trouble finding workers, finding laborers, finding contract work. That is a problem that I think progressive Democrats, people who believe kind of in more generous welfare, helping people out through this difficult time, do have to reckon with that, contend with that a little bit at least. I understand we were in a tough spot. We needed to help people out. But there is a little bit of a reluctance to go back to work because the unemployment is pretty generous that I'm hearing from people I know who are small business owners who are looking to hire, who are looking to have like contract work done on their business or on their house. That is an issue. I don't know how much of that is motivating this. That is an issue that could theoretically be solved by more immigration, not less, which is very funny to hear Republicans talking about the other way.
They could raise the wages. I mean, if we're talking about like a sort of a free market sort of environment, and I understand that the government sort of getting involved might not be exactly free market, but at the same time, if people are doing better on unemployment and these other incentives that they're being given, then maybe business owners need to be taking a second look at how much incentive they're giving to employ people. Clearly, it's not enough.
Well, maybe we'll lower the crushing regulatory burden on them, and then they can raise wages, and everybody can win. How about that?
All right. Well, last Wednesday, Biden participated in his second town hall with CNN, where he was scrutinized over his response to a number of questions concerning vaccines.
That's underway, just like the other question that's illogical. And I've heard you speak about it because I'm not being solicitous, but you're always straight up about what you're doing. Yeah. And the question is whether or not we should be in a position where you are. Why can't the experts say we know that this virus is in fact it's going to be. Or excuse me, we know why all the drugs approved are not temporarily approved, but permanently approved. Yeah. That's underway, too. I expect that to occur quickly.
Well, you mean for the FDA?
For the FDA.
Oh, that was really bad. I don't know what he was saying or what he was even trying to say.
Yeah, that was really bad. Biden gets tripped up with his words. He doesn't, often he doesn't seem at the top of his game when he's delivering remarks or answers to questions like that. The FDA has been ridiculous. It's that these vaccines are still operating under emergency authorization. We all know they should be approved. For school kids, I want them, and the federal government should want them to have a normal school experience in the fall. Because vaccines or no vaccines, everyone at risk can get a vaccine at serious risk of a negative health outcome from COVID. Children, we know, they have as much natural protection from the disease as vaccinated people do. Now, I think it would be fine to approve the vaccine for them, and if they want to get that, that's fine by me too. But it shouldn't be holding back some kind of normal school environment. I think that could be something. That was an issue Republicans really tried to make their own. I think right leading up to the election, and it certainly wasn't enough for them. And I think Trump sometimes talked about it in an unhelpful way. But it remains the case that, kids suffered so dramatically last year in terms of their lives being uprooted by this terrible virus. We asked them to sacrifice so much. Now we know it's not really necessary for them to continue to sacrifice. They're very safe from COVID, and their teachers and their adults can all get vaccinated.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have enough data now from around the world. We have plenty of other countries that did not close down schools. They weren't even masking children. I mean, in Europe, we saw European countries that didn't close schools. They didn't mask children. They haven't even approved vaccines for even young people in some European countries at all. And so, yeah, I think we know now the data of what sort of risk kids are at. And I agree that it is obviously now more harmful to keep them out of school.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kim. Thanks for tuning in to What America's Thinking, and we'll see you next time on Rising.